The 5 theoretical aspects that were used and explained in our audiovisual assignment were individualism, collectivism, high context cultures, low context cultures, and power distance. We made this video to illustrate how cultural variability can affect communication at an intercultural level. Indeed, culture has a very large influence on the way we communicate. In our video, we decided to show some of the differences between individualism and collectivism. Individualistic cultures emphasize the importance of the individual in society and promote self-development, whereas collectivistic cultures emphasize the importance of interdependence and promote working for the benefit of one's group. So collectivists put the group's goals before their own, and their identity is based on the groups they belong to. Individualists, on the other hand, hold their personal goals as a priority and value independence and ambition. So this translates into very different attitudes in the workplace, which is what we try to show in our team situation. Individualists are very competitive because they are striving to fulfill their own goals, whereas collectivists are striving to maintain in-group harmony while achieving the best for their group. So we also focused on high and low context cultures. This is another dimension of cultural variability, and well, high context cultures rely heavily on non-verbal communication and pay a lot of attention to body language, eye contact, etc. during communication. Low context cultures focus strictly on the verbal message and do not rely so much on non-verbal communication to get their message across. Therefore, silence in a conversation, for example, has a very different meaning in high and low context cultures. So this can also lead to misunderstandings and communication mistakes. And finally, we also showed the difference in power distance between cultures. So countries such as China have a high power distance, and therefore hierarchy is very important, and inequalities between people are expected and even desired. At the other end of this power distance scale, we find small power distance countries like Germany, where inequalities between people are minimized and power is earned through personal merit. So power distance has a very noticeable impact on the workplace.
The goal of our audio video is to give intercultural teams some simple advice regarding communication conflicts. Intercultural communication can be very complex, and if some simple steps are not taken, it can lead to conflict, which is what all teams should avoid. Our target group is intercultural teams collaborating on a project. This message we wanted to get across is that all team members should remain open-minded and accept other cultures when collaborating on a project. It is very important to learn more about other cultures to minimize difference and conflict.
Our goal was to help the business community deepen their understanding on the issues regarding intercultural teamwork. In the end of the video, we wanted them to realize how if there was a lack of intercultural communication, results will never be as you expected. We illustrated in our video how there was an inadequate amount of intercultural communication between the team members and how everyone was frustrated with Yazim due to her different way of working. The narrator expressed in the end how it is important to be open-minded and try to narrow down the barrier between the cultures by behaving in a neutral stance and not assuming the way one individual works is better than the other. Intercultural communication is important because international business can learn from each other and support each other in our globalized world. Therefore, it is relevant for the target group to watch this video so they can understand what can go wrong and how to prevent it from happening.
Something we could have done differently is that we could have incorporated another team member from a low context, collectivistic, and high power distance society. That could have deepened the explanation of the differences between each culture.
Question was that the different dimensions refer to the different team members in the right way. And well, regarding the first scene in which we illustrated how the dimension of high and low context influences intercultural teamwork,
it became very clear that the team members from Germany, USA and especially from Argentina belonged to low context culture. The Argentine interrupted constantly and was furthermore very uncomfortable with silence during a conversation. All of the 3 team members had huge problems with the indirect communication style of the Chinese. So all in all, one could say that in the first scene, the dimension of low and high context culture referred very well to the different team members. Well, in the second scene, which was about power distance, there were some more difficulties in referring the dimensions well to the different team members. While the team members from Germany and USA were presented right as belonging to a small power distance culture, it should have come clearer that the person from Argentina comes from a state with a power distance a little bit larger. Even though the main differences in the power distances between the Chinese and the other 3 members were shown very well. In the third scene, finally, referring to the differences between individualistic and collectivistic cultures, the Chinese team member came from a very collectivistic culture, while the rest belonged to more individualistic cultures. It became clear how these cultural differences influence the way of working and especially the ability to work on one's own. However, it was not shown clear enough that the Argentine culture, although it tends to be mainly individualistic, has still more collectivistic aspects than the Northern American and the German culture. So all in all, we came to the conclusion that differences between the Latin American culture, in this case Argentina, and the North American culture and the European culture could have been illustrated better. Nevertheless, was our main focus set on the huge differences between the Chinese and the other 3 cultures, and we think that we managed to show this difference very clear.
It was very interesting for me because it was actually the first time I was faced with working within an intercultural team. I think the whole process went quite smoothly though. Our team wasn't faced with conflict during our project, and it was enriching to have to work with different people from different cultures.
We finished all the audiovisual tasks. We all learned a lot. For example, just like me, I'm the only Chinese in our class, and maybe because I come from the high contact culture, maybe in the beginning I not quite understand my classmate, but after all this process at the end, I found we can understand each other better.
Well, what was really interesting working with this assignment is that the 5 group members, we all came from a very diverse international background, so we learned a lot from each other while working on intercultural communication. And
what I really learned from making this video is that teamwork is actually not as easy as I thought it would be. You really have to tolerate the different cultures, and once you're in a business environment, you have to make clear how you're going to approach the work you're wanting to do.
For all of us, it was the first time working in such an intercultural group, because we all team members come from different cultures, different countries, and so I think it was quite interesting, especially to get to know the different ways of working in a group. But of course it was also sometimes difficult that we worked in different ways. And at the end, actually, when we finished our video, it was funny to see that the cultural differences we experienced already in our group work were presented later in our video again.